Hey everyone, welcome back to the B-side. Brad here. Again, we're gonna have a little fun night here where I'm just kind of gonna experiment a little bit with some renders of the Sleepwalker, who is the character I was sculpting last time. What's up, Ram? Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for dropping by. Um, it's great to see Ram here again. Um, and this is one of those things where I don't really know exactly how it's going to turn out. I say that all the time, but I mean it, especially this time when I'm kind of doing a little bit of painting. Last time, if you remember, I'm going to bring up my screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. But last time, um, we had basically, I made kind of a composition of the Jack of Hearts character, right? It was, we just kind of like created everything from, we kind of photo bashed some landscape together. We kind of brought in some stuff. But for the most part, it was just overlaying images, masking some in, kind of like getting some out. There was an intro RAM. I think. I mean, I played it. I played it. Um, we'll have to see. We'll have to see on the replay. I don't want to repeat, but if it helps, it started out something like that. And then you imagine the special spinning. You know what? I have to do it. I have to do it because I worked on that. I made that stupid video. I need to play it. I need to do it. Hang on. Here it comes. It is a special presentation, so I'm going to play it. I don't know if you saw the other one as well, the record for spinning. Hopefully, again, I'm going to have to watch this again to see, I have to watch it afterward to kind of see if it played. It's possible that I was a little bit early because I don't know for sure when the countdown says, when I go live. I think at some point YouTube just stops showing it to me when it gets like under a minute. So maybe I went a little early. I may have been a little premature. It happens. But anyway, what I'm not sure, what I'm not sure about with regard to what I'm doing tonight is how it's going to turn out. And this is one of those things. Again, it's experimental, and this is kind of the point. I think is to try stuff out. But again, this was a composition where I mentioned I was kind of like masking in some images and just overlaying them, playing with blend modes. It was all a little bit detached from the actual image that I was going for, which was cool. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to create like this little composition. For tonight, though, I actually want to kind of like do a little like painting ultimately, and kind of like making it a little more painterly, a little less photo bash, and just kind of more stylish, I guess, in a way. Stylish, again, another way of saying that is probably bad, but that's kind of the point here is that I'm kind of going for a little bit of a risk, right? Like, I mean, most of the time here on the B side and on Stylus League, I'm sculpting and sometimes compositing, but I'm not a sculptor. I'm not a painter. If anything, I'm a rigger and animator. So this is all kind of like experimental. So there's no guarantee this is not going to be an absolute disaster. But again, I'm starting with a render that I kind of like. I thought the pose was kind of neat. I didn't go with the full body. Thank you, Nuno. Thank you so much for coming by, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Nuno's here. Thank you, and he's providing me with reinforcement, which I need. Because the actual version of him he's pretty much again he's got cape stuff too, right? His actual outfit, it's not terribly exciting. It's a little bit repetitive, right? Once you get below the waist, it's just more of the same. He's wearing a blue bodysuit, and there's lots of purple wraps and stuff. Um, Ram, I don't have a rig for him. I have that basic human rig, which we talked about last time, and I'll definitely make it available. All I gotta do is find out. I gotta find out from Raul basically where to put it so that everyone can get to it. So yes, absolutely, the rigs, all the rigged base meshes will be available. Jamie, that's okay. Jamie, I think I played the intro, so I think you pretty much got the best part. Everything else, it's all downhill from here. So don't worry about it, buddy. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you're feeling better, man. And yeah, hope it's worth the while when you come back. So this guy again, he's lots of purple, not a whole lot of kind of crazy stuff here, but yeah, Ram, the actual just base mesh of the generic male figure with the rig. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make that available. I just gotta find out from Raul basically where to put it so that it's accessible from, by everybody. So I decided for the sake of this stream, I want to kind of just take this and make this into an image, almost like an illustration type of thing, where kind of like I'm just doing some painting and kind of like just trying some stuff, so that when all said and done, you know, it'll be kind of a stylish image, not a render so much as something that kind of feels a little more like a painting, like I said. Which, again, it's not something I do a whole lot, so you know, there's really no way to know how it's going to turn out, which is fine. So you can see here, I brought him in, and in the in the actual image here, of course, you know, he does have wraps along his wrists. So you can see here, there are some wraps here, and so forth. So if I zoom in, you can see, you know, they're kind of like just floating around there. And I didn't have them in the render because I think, again, they're kind of very obviously just meshes. They're kind of obviously solid and just kind of like just very, very hard edged, not terribly realistic. So I brought them in. I mean, I did render them out. And you can see here, I actually have a layer with just the wraps on them that I'm going to use as kind of a guide. Basically, I think I'm going to try and kind of just do them mostly by hand, just to kind of give them, again, more of a loose feel. Or at the very least, I might just use these and chip away at them to kind of make them look a little bit more ragged, you know. And the same thing with the cape. I have the cape here, which again is nothing exciting. It was just blocked in, and you can see how rough it is and how low res it is. And this is also just going to be something I'm going to use as a guide. I am going to have the cape, and I'm going to have the wraps. But the cape actually has something has the wraps missing from the render. Great job, Brad. But that's okay. Again, it's just going to be something that I bring in, and I'm probably going to use a little bit. But you know, these are really more for guides. So this is not going to be, again, I don't really know how it's going to go. You know, just kind of play around. You're going to see here, this is the one thing I'm happy about, though, this noise pattern here. Really happy with the way this noise pattern came out. I made it in ZBrush. I mean, I made it in Photoshop by kind of taking some images. I took an image from, it wasn't actually that. It was like a spider webby texture, like some lines, some weird lines. And I kind of like went through in Photoshop and kind of like made them a little bit more wiggly or a little bit less straight, and then kind of like tiled it a little bit and brought it in. I kind of like it. It reminds me of something. I've seen it something like this before on something in a movie, but I have no idea. I can't remember what it was. So again, like I said, you know, in the composition before, which was the Jack of Hearts guy, it was, you know, like, it was an overall image, but like there wasn't a whole lot of detail to see on the face because the face was this tiny little thing. So again, I'm just gonna try and play around with like painting a little bit and just messing around. Again, is it gonna look good? I don't know at all. You can see when I zoom in, it gets a little bit imperfect, which is okay. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here and just start kind of like painting a little bit. I'm gonna probably start with a couple of adjustment layers just to kind of get a little bit of lighting in here. I believe I do have I didn't do that thing like I did before where I like rendered out a million different things. I rendered out, I think, like 2 or 3 things just to kind of like see some different lighting setups. So this one here, for example, has the light coming from a different side. I'm going to bring that in just to kind of get me some a little bit more depth here, a little bit more, you know, this is kind of flat. So I'm just going to bring this in really fast. Bring the same mask up to this, and just actually I'm just going to get rid of that mask. I'm just going to make that a negative mask and then paint in some stuff. So I'm going to do a little bit of masking and painting in, but mostly just kind of for the sake of the face and stuff like that, get some lighting on here. So I'm just going to come in here with this brush. This is just a chalk brush. It's one I didn't make, but it's not much different from most brushes. It's just got a rough texture on it, and I'm just kind of bringing some of this in. I just want to, again, mostly it's the face that I want to kind of like bring in a little bit of, but maybe I'll bring in a little bit of you know, of brightness here too as well, just to kind of get, you know, get a little feel. And if I control click this mask here underneath, it'll keep my paint inside the mask, right? So I can just kind of come in here and again, just kind of throw in a little hint of this. And I'm going to try not to do what I always do, which is over rely on the transfer in the brush, where you kind of have it set to hand pressure. So like, you know, it's a little bit wishy-washy. I'm going to try to be a little bit more, to at least fake a little more confidence with this. If that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit of faking, but so I'm going to jump here in the face, and again, I'm just going to try some stuff. I don't really know exactly how it's going to look. I didn't see. I don't mean to imply that I'm not going to do any photo bashing. I'm sure I'll do some, but I think for the most part, I just want to feel like I'm doing a little bit of actual painting instead of just relying on other photos, right? So basically, what I want to do is I'm going to try and paint some colors, but I also just want to paint some lightness and darkness. And again, for me, I like to use um, adjustment layers and then just paint them in. So I'm going to do an adjustment layer here for exposure, um, and then crank it up, right? So it's very, very bright. It's kind of like this. Maybe not quite so crazy, something like this. Let's find that middle ground, something like this, right? And then just go to my mask and invert a control I. So now basically wherever I paint white, right, I'm going to bring in some of that. So basically if I want to kind of get a little bit of like highlights on the cheek and so forth, I'm just going to kind of like come in and just start painting, basically painting white on the adjustment layer that did that, right? So again, I just don't know for sure how it's going to go. I'm just trying to think about little highlighted areas that would kind of be hit by like. I'm trying, I'm trying not to over rely on that transfer mode where you can set the opacity, the pen pressure. I'm going to try and like be bolder with this and not pretend, like not be like, well, I'm just going to just nibble around the edges. I actually want to pretend that I know what I'm doing. And I think that's kind of sometimes the better way to do it is just to kind of fake confidence in at least in terms of like this, because it's like when you're posing something, when you're sculpting something, I think it's kind of all the same. But like if you're worried about it looking like bad and you play it safe, it's always going to be less interesting. It's always going to be a little more unremarkable. Take it from me, because I think that's the problem that I have with most of what I do. I feel like it's unremarkable. I feel like I don't push it far enough, and I'm trying to kind of like put myself in a situation where I kind of have no choice. Like one of the things, for example, coming on a stream and say, I'm going to do this. Well, now I kind of have to do it, which is awesome. It's kind of a fun way to force yourself out of your comfort zone. And again, like I'm just, as you can see here, just adding some brightness here. And I feel like this is kind of like the blocking stage when you're sculpting, right? You're just kind of like, you're just finding your way sometimes. So this is like, half of this stuff is just trying to get a feel for what you're doing, and you just kind of like, you find something that you can do to kind of get more comfortable, and then hopefully you'll get more bold the more comfortable you get. I'm going to control click that just to kind of keep myself inside the lines here. But just going to come in here and just brighten this up a little bit. And then I can kind of come back, and add some color, because I do want to have him. The background here is not going to be the background. The background hopefully is going to be a little bit more interesting, but I kind of want there to be kind of some lighting that kind of shows off part of him. Actually, I might make a lot of him kind of pretty much plunged in darkness. So some of this might not necessarily even matter, but this is, like I said, this is kind of like, this is just getting my foot in the door, just kind of getting the feel for it, what the painting is going to feel like here. I'm going to come in here and just put some of these, but like this is, I don't know, this sometimes is just, I'm going to do actual painting. This is kind of revealing an adjustment layer, but if you're kind of like lacking confidence in painting, this is a great way to start, because it's easier to do this than it is to paint, at least for me. So I'm just going to come in here and just bringing in some of this. Doesn't seem like a lot is happening maybe, but when you kind of like are done and you kind of go back and turn the layer off and on, you can see quite a bit has changed. And I want to kind of get some of these parts of this web and just kind of have them pop a little bit more. Mostly because I'm really excited about the way this noise turned out. Right? Just to be a little more interesting. But also, again, I can kind of come in here and really exaggerate the contrast on this, because again, he didn't have a very exciting outfit. So I felt like I needed to find a way to make it not just kind of get lost in just all the blue. So this noise is kind of my best shot at doing that. And I think that it kind of works. And I think that, the fact that I'm painting this in means I could use this maybe the same mask too if I needed to, and like apply it to another different layer, like a levels or even a colorization layer, something like that, to kind of give this some more pizzazz. But this is, essentially it's kind of like a contrast pass. So I'm just trying to find the areas that I want to pop out a little bit more, and just kind of bring them in. Going to be a little sloppy again. I know that I'm going to be bringing in other things. I'm going to bring in the cape. I'm going to bring in the wraps, and I want to actually bring in like kind of like a smoky, magical smoky thing. Like he's doing this thing with his hand. I would like to kind of have little tendrils of smoke kind of like lingering from them, like kind of like a magical, like a mystical thing, mystical something or other. Something like that. Something weird happened here. I don't really know what to make of that. Let me just open up the original, see if I. Oh, okay, I think there are wraps there, maybe. Where's my guy? Right there. That's what's going on. Yeah, I think there are wraps there. Okay, that's okay. So now I'm going to go to my paint layer up here, which doesn't have really anything on it. I'm just going to kind of try to fill this in. Okay, I will be having wraps here, so probably this is going to get covered up anyway, but okay. No harm, no foul. So I'm coming in here again. I'm just going to start bringing in a little bit of highlights here. And again, if I do the wraps on top of this, who knows how much this is actually going to be seen. But you can see here, I got a little noise happy with the hands. I decided to put that same kind of webbing on the hands and the fingers, mostly for the same reason. I was just like, well, there's not much happening on the hands either. And, like, he didn't seem like the kind of guy who would just have leather gloves. Like, he's not going to, like, go to the store and pick out a nice pair of leather gloves. So I figured maybe, there's some sort of semi-sentient thing happening. I don't know. I was thinking like Spawn or Venom or something like that, obviously. So who knows? But in here, add a little bit to the teeth here. Get some lighting in there. Maybe here on the little whatever this is, the cape thing. Another reason why I want to do this too, because I don't know about printing this guy. I was like I printed out the Jack of Hearts and he's coming along. This is not really a print friendly guy because there's so much like flowy fabric thing. So if I did print him, and I might need to kind of use like mixed media, like actual fabric. So I'm thinking about doing that. That might be kind of an interesting experiment. That's another thing that I rarely have done. So, who knows? But we'll hit the corner of this little hood here. Like I do believe I actually have a shadow pass, which I should probably have bring in. So yeah, so this could be kind of good too. I'm gonna bring this in. Let's go ahead and close some of these extras I don't need anymore. Make sure I don't close the one I'm working with. And let's bring this in and pop it on top. I'm gonna set it to maybe overlay, but overlay a little too much. Let's go to multiply and then just tone it down significantly. And then bring this below my exposure layer. And I'm going to make a mask really fast and just paint out the stuff on the face. I don't want the face to be that much in darkness, but the shadow pass especially helps with the noise. If I turn the shadow off and on, it kind of makes that stand out a little bit more, which I kind of like. So I wanted to kind of bring that in. I remembered I had the shadow pass for a reason. I could tell up here mostly. So I can get a little bit of shadowy stuff up here. And again, I'm going to do some painting now too. But let's come here in the face. And again, I'm going to do like a lot of the oops. I'm going to do a lot of the what should we call it? I'm trying to say the wraps and stuff. But like I said, I want to try and kind of get a little bit painty here. So I'm just gonna come in here and see if I can get some, see if I can kind of build up some highlights and stuff like that. I'm gonna do the same thing like I did with the oh geez, with the adjustment layer. I thought I was painting a mask, so I was painting white and black. So I'm going to do another exposure here. It's going to be a darkening one as well. So I'm going to go here to adjustment layer exposure, crank it down, and then invert my mask here. And now let's see if I can bring in some darkness too in certain areas here. So I'm just going to like bring in some darkness. There's my cat who is going to be helping us tonight. Slow down a little bit. So I'm not gonna mess with the transfer, but I am occasionally going to bring down the flow just so it's not like it's 100% everywhere. But that's okay. It's gonna come up here a little bit. Again, I'm gonna try and now he's running his head on my pen, which is exactly not what I want. Yeah, that is Sleepwalker. Yeah, yeah. So that's yeah. I'm trying to like do characters that are a little bit more obscure, just because I think it's more fun sometimes to kind of like try and do characters that I haven't seen a lot. It's tempting to kind of do ones that everyone does because they're cool. That's why everyone does them. Um, but being acutely aware of how my stuff would probably not compare favorably to to a lot of stuff, I like to try and kind of like make my little niche in the realm of the less known. So yeah, I was reading about it because he sounds kind of cool. Like he's a good guy, but he doesn't look like one. I think that's actually kind of a problem for him sometimes. Like he actually has to deal with the fact that people are you know are terrified of him because he does not necessarily look like um, doesn't look like a nice guy, which is kind of cool. So many of these characters that I'm finding like during my little obscure Marvel thing, like some of them are really funny. Like they're cool ideas. Like the next one I'm doing, I think is Paste Pot Pete, who is such a ridiculous character. I think it's Paste Pot Pete. I always get the order of his name mixed up. But he's such a ridiculous character that I have no choice. I have to try and do him. This is going to be a lot of fun for me. I don't know if it's going to be fun for anybody else, but it was a lot of fun for me. Um, but I'm impressed. Yeah, so yeah, you've actually heard of this guy, which is impressive because I had never heard of this guy. Um, but yeah, like he had his own, his own title, I think, for at least a little bit. It looks like from what I was looking online, I kind of found some indications that he has his own title, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna go here. I am gonna cheat a little bit and go back to my regular old soft round brush for the sake of the shadows here. I don't want them to be too crazy. It should be though. I'm going against my own philosophy here. Where I'm just like, nope, I'm going to be bold. And I'm like, yeah, but maybe not. Maybe not so bold. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to try and just really darken some of these areas up a little bit here, just to kind of really make it look like he's in shadow in a lot of this area here. I can actually go, and this is cool about being adjustment layers is I can, of course, I can just adjust this even more. Right? So that now what I'm painting in is going to be darker still, which is kind of cool. Right. So again, really, a pretty significantly different look already just from a lighting standpoint, just by painting that in. So I'm just going to kind of like, this is before he's got lots of he's pretty evenly lit. Now I'm kind of getting a little bit more dramatic, I suppose, with this, which is kind of cool. So I am going to go back now to my trusted bunny brush. It's just called the chalk brush, but I refer to it as the bunny brush because it looks like a little bunny. I'm going to turn opacity off, but let the flow reset the pen pressure. That way, it's not going to be too iffy, but it's just going to kind of just be a little bit. I'm gonna go back now to this main layer here, which is just a paint layer. And I'm just gonna try and like just do a little bit of like throwing in some actual colors now. So I'm just gonna kind of go here with like a yellowish color and just start kind of throwing in little bits of yellow here. And again, like I might come back and adjust the opacity of this, but I just want to kind of get a little bit of variation here, so it doesn't feel quite so. I want to make sure I don't like skimp on the dark colors here too. I want to kind of keep this looking a bit like this. I'm going to go a little bit of orange here and tone down my opacity a little bit so it's not quite so intense. A little bit of, so this is like, I'm trying to kind of like basically compensate for the fact that when I color or paint stuff in ZBrush, I tend to be a little bit boring with it. I kind of want to, I want to kind of model it up a little bit, just to kind of, again, just bring a little bit of visual interest. I get a little bit of purple in here. This is my little bunny brush. You can see here. I'm going to actually give in a little bit more of a pen pressure thing for this part. This will be a little more subtle. Now I'm going to make my brush a little smaller and try and get in here a little more distinct here. Okay. But basically, this is like sculpting. I'm almost like using, this is like using a damn standard brush and just kind of carving in some lines here a little bit. I'll take this a little bit here for a second. And grab a little bit of a highlight here and see if I can get some of this. That little raised ridge a little bit, just maybe to flow back to normal. Now remember, word to the wise, I mentioned at the beginning that I am not a painter. This is not my forte. However, I kind of want it to get, I kind of enjoy the process, even if it doesn't work out great all the time. So I'm trying it a little bit more. I've got a little darker color here, just going to start. You can see it's getting a little pixelated here, but that's okay. I can probably just tweak that a little bit here. But what that means, of course, is that when you see the actual picture, a lot of what we're seeing here isn't necessarily going to be all that visible, all that, I think this is going to kind of be more of a conglomerate of everything that we're doing here. But again, I just want to kind of like play around a little bit here and kind of, I feel like what I'm doing is using the contrast delta brush in ZBrush, where I'm just kind of trying to go through and darken the dark areas, lighten some of the light areas, to kind of make this feel a little bit more, there's something going on here. I'm going to go with some white and just see if I can kind of get little indications of some highlights here. But Jaha, the fact that you recognize Sleepwalker, I mean, it gives me some hope. That's very impressive. Not by me. Impressive that you can kind of pick this guy out of whatever this guy has turned out to be. I'm gonna go a little pink here. Kind of throw a little bit of that in the lip as well. I like to try and again, when I say I like to try and do this, this is just me like spitballing here, but I kind of want the I want the face to feel, if you look closely, kind of like modeled and just really just, kind of all kinds of colors and stuff like that. And then when you kind of step back, it feels like it makes sense. I'm going to come here with this little orangey color here really fast. And then I want to kind of lightly go over it with the green to get that. And now I need to kind of contrast it up. So I'm going to need some lighter colors in here and just kind of hit the high points. Again, I'm not saying like this because I know what I'm doing. I absolutely not. Yeah, see, good. That's kind of how I am. Like whether it's Marvel or like one of my favorite sources of stuff that I sculpt is this old '90s show called The Tick, and he just has like that show just has some of the funniest and cleverest um, characters on it, and like just like character names, but also just character designs. Like they're just so goofy. And my favorite thing is to try and again like convert them into something that you can imagine there being a statue for at sideshow. You know what I mean, or something like you try and do something as silly as the Tick, and then kind of make it feel gritty like like Batman. I don't know. I just think that's a fun thing to do. And the Tick was such a goofy show, but it had like this huge variety of characters that you could like I could work on those for years and not even scratch the surface. Like it's really cool. That's kind of what I'm working toward in my little. Sometimes again, I get out of like those zones, and sometimes I go back into them. Like, okay, I'm back. I'm going to do more Tick characters or more obscure characters. Like one of the very first things I did when I was learning ZBrush about 7 or 8 years ago was I was kind of like going through obscure Batman villains because I thought that was again it was like I thought lots of people know the Joker and Riddler and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to kind of find ones that were not very well known. Also, just because I thought it'd be kind of fun to learn about other ones that I had missed. And I was like, I saw ones like the Doll Maker, who was creepy as hell, um, and Blight, and the Condiment King, who's awesome just because he has a gun that shoots ketchup. I mean, how can you not love that? Um, Here I'm just playing around with the idea of a rim light that might come back that might come back and work later on. Um, Again, I want to have like this kind of greenish, bluish smoke that's going to kind of like be around his hand. So I'm just kind of like maybe planning ahead here, hoping it works. Seeing as how I'm painting it, and really can't take it away. I have not changed layers yet, so yeah, I made the Jack of Hearts. That was a couple of weeks ago. I think again it was one of the ones where I did a lot of it off camera just because I didn't want to bore anybody. But I ended up with and I ended up making he's like a about 13 inches or 14 inches 3D print of him that I'm really excited about. Like he's all done, he's all printed out, and he's primed. And I'm going to start painting him probably next week. Um, but yeah, the composition. One of the more recent B-sides, I just kind of brought the some renders of him into Photoshop and just tried to make kind of like just a quick little like in scene version of him just to kind of see how it worked out. But I did kind of like this something like this for the actual 3D print too. He's got kind of like a swirly pink thing that he's kind of like attached to his boots. It's kind of like part of the base. Really excited about that. Actually, I'm pretty psyched. When I printed out the swirly pink stuff in transparent in clear resin that I tinted. So like it is kind of like this pink glassy thing that I'm going to have a LED light in to kind of make it seem like it's illuminated. That's the plan. Lenny Fiasco the Eraser. Okay, I got to see this because DC is another is another right ground for Lenny Fiasco. He is the one. All right, because I when I was going through my oh dude, yeah, I am absolutely doing this guy. This is amazing. Oh my god. Okay. All right, this guy I definitely have to do him because this is the greatest look. I mean, this is an awesome thing. Oh my god, it's awesome. Oh, I gotta do that guy. I was gonna do him And I remember because again, like I said, I was doing obscure Batman villains, and I was going alphabetically. And Dollmaker was my D, and Condiment King was my C, and Blight was my B. The Architect was my A. And then when I got to E, I saw that and I was like, I was still very new at this whole process. I was like, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to make that guy look interesting because I didn't know how, I wasn't comfortable enough to kind of, figure out a way. I don't know if I'm still ready for it, but I'm going to try it anyway because it looks so awesome. So I remember seeing that guy. I was like, oh yeah, I can't do that guy. So I ended up doing the Electrocutioner. Um, just because that name was so cool. It's a really cool name, Electrocutioner. He was kind of cool looking too. Um, so that was the one. Yeah, I'm trying to think. F, I think was Firefly, which at the time seemed obscure. I don't think he is anymore, but at the time he was. G. This is going down memory lane here. G was Gaggy. His name was. He was like a mini Joker guy. And let me see, F, no, H was Helgramite or something like that. Some weird insecty looking dude. I was Ink, Inque. It's a pretty interesting character. K, I don't remember what K was. Oh wait, it was the Key. He was called the Key, and yes, he had keys. Um, but the eraser, yeah, that is Andrew. That was that is that's just an awesome one. Yeah, that was a good one. You just have to wonder like what they were thinking when they came up with that kind of thing. I think this is awesome. All right, so I'm starting with this. Um, Kind of want to keep that color and maybe do a little hint of it around here as well, just to kind of get started with this. I'm just going to do that and then use my eraser and knock it back because I can never get it exactly right. But yeah, the eraser. Oh man. I mean, you kind of can't you kind of can't fault the outfit. Like it's as advertised. But that is a character that absolutely needs to be done. Yeah, I'm gonna make the jump to DC in the middle here because that one he's too good to pass up. After Paste Pot Pete, we're gonna jump over to to DC for the eraser because that's just awesome. Again, you just can't not love that characters like that where it's just absolutely bananas. I'm gonna go to a different chalk brush, one with a little bit of a harsher edge here because I felt like I'm not really getting the look I wanted with the bunny brush. It's a little bit too fuzzy. The key. See, good. You recognize the key. The key was weird. Again, there's a million different versions of it, and I'm sure my version was it was a long time ago, but it was back then. Like when I made it, I don't think there was even Dynamesh yet. Like it was a very old version of ZBrush. It's not really the reason that it's not good, but that's the excuse I'm going to be using for that for now. All right, so we got that. Let's see here. I'm going to go here and choose kind of a lighter color here. Let's see about coming in here and just getting some lighter colors in here. The key and then J. I think I ended up like most of my big projects here. It didn't quite make it all the way to Z, but K was key. J was jackanapes. It was the ape. Oh no, K. What comes next? JKLM. M was he was he had like a plague doctor's mask, I think. Can't remember who that was. What was his name? Merrymaker? Merrymaker, maybe? I think it was Merrymaker. I think that's where I stopped. I think I couldn't find a good N good end character. And I think I was just like, well, really find one. And I never found like that was always the key. The key was always the key. The key was always to have like the next character like in mind to kind of get me motivated to finish the one I was working on. And I think the problem was I didn't have one that was exciting and for end. So I just kind of like let it fade. All right, so here's where we are so far with him, right? A little bit of kind of like over painting, just to kind of again give him a little hint of. Oh, so I turn this off. See, there he is before, right after. Just a little bit of stuff here, not a whole lot of craziness, but I want to kind of play around now with the wraps maybe. So I'm gonna bring the wraps in. I'm gonna select I'm gonna bring them in here. You can see here, this is where they are. And I think what I'm gonna do is just kind of start masking out some of this to kind of make it look a little rougher. So I'm just gonna go here, this is my layer with just the wraps on it. I'm gonna group it so that I can make a new mask for the group, and then come in here and just start kind of painting out what I don't want, right? So I can start, just making these a little bit more see-through, maybe in certain areas, because again, they're just a little too clean. So I'm just gonna come in here and just start knocking them back a little bit here. And now I'm gonna try and do it. I'm gonna try and do a little kind of like paint to kind of make them look a little strandy. You know how these should be kind of torn and messed up. So I'm just gonna come in here and again, I'm just gonna knock some of these down a little bit, kind of remove some of this so I can come in manually, hopefully, and see, good. See, we're learning here tonight because yeah, Jack and Ace was pretty cool. He was, I mean, he was a fun character to sculpt too because it was a cool pose to put him in. Like he was like, I had him jumping like with arms out. I have him a picture of it up there. But I like printed out some of my earlier stuff. Mostly as a way to kind of keep myself from, forgetting how bad things look. But I liked the way like, he was a fun character to do. He really was. I tend to slug. What's up, man? Thanks for coming by, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm just gonna come in here and just try to make these things look a little bit more like they're mixed up. So I'm just gonna start by kind of essentially distressing them, right? Then coming back and doing a little painting on top. So you can see these same guys over here. Just gonna knock this back. Jack and Apes was cool again. Merrymaker, I think, was the one, for the M. Gaggy was kind of a weird one. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked him because again, it allowed me to kind of sculpt something jokery without actually saying I was sculpting the Joker because he just seemed like a little weird, little mini Joker guy. Which is kind of neat. So I'm gonna come in here now, and I've kind of just gone through and I've like tried to remove parts of these straps, right? And now I'm just going to do a layer over top with a light color, like a light gray. And I'm just going to kind of come in here and try to get my opacity down a little bit. Try to kind of create the illusion, again, not knowing when it's going to work, but illusion of like little strands. I'm going to come in here again, just throwing little. I think what happens is my brush size is so small, I'm not really seeing it. There you go. Okay. Again, a little bit of that light color in here too. Hit some of that, so it feels like it's still part of this. Let's go to a lighter color here and make my opacity a little higher. Now, of course, if you want to see someone who actually knows what they're doing when it comes to painting and paint over stuff like that, you should check out um, Mike Mike Thompson's tutorial. Um, Again, I don't know how much he does of paint over in the anti-venom, but he did an amazing tutorial on Gnomon Workshop where he sculpts this awesome character designed by Cameron Davis and then brings it into Corel Painter, I think, or Photoshop, and we're both. And it just makes this awesome painting at the end. So it's definitely something you want to check out. But this is something that, again, I think this will. I'm not like stressing out over every little strand here, but I think that it kind of gives the impression of these wraps flying around without it being too solid. Like again, because they were essentially just strips of faces in ZBrush that you know, were just distributed. They had a very solid, very kind of uniform feel to them, and that was just not really, you know, gonna feel realistic. So it's kind of like just making these little strands here, just trying to throw in some indications of, you know, see like this little, you know, just like little indications where these edges have been torn, and there's some little flyaways here. Again, this is a lot of this is because I'm not like I've kind of, as much as I love seeing you know, these beautiful renders of, you know, in Toolbag and so forth. I just like, I think it's just because I've seen a lot of them now, and I'm just aware of how amazing a lot of these materials can look. Like I kind of shy away from that. I think just because, one, I know mine wouldn't look as good, but also like I just, you know, like it's like, okay, like I see a lot of that, and now I'm going to try something that's not that. You know, and so even though this is not going to look as good or as realistic, I don't know. I think there's just, like, I feel for me personally, there's just more room to learn and experiment more. Um, Mostly again because, like I said, like the people who are using, you know, substance and illustration and marmoset and all that kind of stuff, they're just so good at it that, like, I think that if I did it, it would just be so obviously a pale imitation that, like, I'm just more motivated to try something that you know, that wouldn't be quite so obviously a failure on my part. So I'm going to go with something that is quite obviously a failure, but it's you know, that way. And another thing is I like the fact, like I mentioned before, you know, that the fact that these are obscure characters kind of, you know, just kind of gives me a lot of freedom to kind of experiment without feeling like, well, everyone's going to know this is wrong. No, who knows? It's a character no one knows. So let's have a fun with it. Kind of stuff. Did you see it? Yeah. I mean, I was really amazed how, I mean, because I saw, you know, I know I saw Cameron's concept art, Cameron Davis, and he's, you know, Cameron Davis is just amazing. He is an absolutely amazing concept artist. The things he comes up with, just they blow my mind. He's the nicest guy you ever met, and he's like, just he can just sit down and just come up with 1,000 amazing, crazy, um, innovative concepts for characters. I just don't know how he does that. And when I saw that concept, I was like, oh, it's gonna be tricky because, like, it's a lot of stuff going on. It's like this kind of like this like merman type of thing, like riding an octopus. It's just so cool. And to sculpt that the way Mike did, that's crazy. All right, so I think here something like this, it's just gonna, it kind of gives the impression that there's some pieces here. But I might try a little, but like for me to do one, yeah. I don't think no one will touch me with a 10-foot pole. They have higher standards than that probably. But what I, you know, again, like I thrive if I could be said to thrive. I thrive in the areas of stuff that no one knows what it's supposed to look like. That way, no one knows that it doesn't look like that. whenever I try to do stuff. I feel like I think that one thing I will say is that Stylus League, as a streaming thing, has done a lot of good for me, especially like whenever I do stuff on the league with the guys. I always feel like I'm doing better work than I would have done otherwise, just because you know I'm with you know Mike, Bradley, and Tony, and I'm trying to kind of like you know keep up. Basically, I'm trying to be part. I'm trying to earn my place, and I don't know. I feel that's kind of again one of the reasons why I like doing the stream. I don't pretend that what I'm doing is going to blow anyone's minds, but it kind of forces me to step out of my comfort zone and try some stuff. Um, and that's something there's something to be said for that. That you just try things that you don't necessarily feel that you're great at. Because I imagine that's the only way that you're going to get better at them. I'm hoping that happens at some point. Raul, don't judge the way I spend my Valentine's Day. That octopus and I go back a long ways. Um, we it was consensual. Um, what I did, I did something. I did something. I was trying I was trying to desaturate this image, and I must have been on the other window. So whatever Control Shift U does, that's what that voice was. I don't know if you even heard that voice. Maybe my microphone stopped it, but there was a voice. It's just talking. I don't know what that was. Bro, thank you for coming by, man. Comes by at the worst time. You have to get the worst impression of me. All right, so I'm gonna go here with my this little burlappy thing, and it's not gonna do much. It's just gonna bring in a little hint of a burlappy texture, just here in this little spot where the light might hit it. There you go. All right, just a little bit there. I also have to see. I'm trying to remember the character that Mike sculpted and that Cameron designed. I think he had like a fish through his fish bone through his nose. Or so I have to see it again. It's so crazy. But that's the kind of stuff where if you if you see if you see Cameron's type of design, that's what you can imagine. Like a guy like just the idea, like yeah, I'm gonna put like a fish. I think there's a fish bone through his nose or something like that. It was just so funny. He's just crazy. Um, Let me knock this down a little bit. Again, I'm just gonna do a little bit of this here um, in the neck back here because it's kind of linen-y. So I'm gonna bring in a little bit of that. It's a little bright. I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. It's all right. But a little bit down here too, just to kind of have it, you know, a little bit of light happening there. And let's bring it down a touch. There. So straps. All right. I also want to do again. I want to bring in the cape, and then I'm going to start playing around with some smoky stuff and that kind of a thing, and then going back to the face for a little bit more because the face is still a little bit, but I'm going to hit save because I haven't saved anything yet. And again, here's the cape. I have the cape way back here, and I'm just going to do pretty much the same kind of thing. I'm going to like remove some of it and then kind of like paint over top of it, basically. So I'm going to make a mask, and with my brush, my little rough brush here, just going to start kind of removing some of this here. Now, what I might do, I made a brush. I have no idea if this brush is going to work for this, but I made a brush called Webby. And it's basically, I went and I opened up an image of a spider web type pattern, and then I made that into a brush. And I think you can see here as I bring this in, it kind of has like this webby look to it. which I kind of like. And I think that if I make this small enough, the edges of that will kind of be a good, um, so maybe not, we'll have to see. The edge of this might be a good way to kind of like bring that, not part of the stuff out, and then give me the ability to kind of bring in what I want. So I want this to kind of feel wispy, and kind of, like rough. I am going to use this web brush for something else, I think, but I just wanted to have something like this first, and then I'm going to try to make this work. I don't know. I keep saying that, but I keep meaning it. So I'm just going to kind of have a little bit of this webby brush here, bring in some of this, and then knock some of this back. To multiply here. Yeah, it didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. It's okay. So let's come here to my mask here and just let's get rid of this mask. So the great Webby experiment, not quite the not quite the success we had hoped. It's okay. It's okay. That brush will come back. That brush will live on. I'm just gonna like knock this back a little bit here, um, and then kind of see if I can get this cape looking more capey by just bringing in by painting over it basically with a similar color, but with a little bit more of a rough feel. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of this is working under the assumption that I know more about painting than I do. But I'm just going to kind of come in here and start. This is, again, it's a little bit nerve wracking to be like, I'm going to just try some stuff, and I have no idea if it's going to work. But okay. I'm going to come here and start painting some dark under here to get this little. And then I want this to feel a bit more fibery. So let's go back to my chalk brush. Make this nice and small, and bring it back to our little fibery thing. Come in here. Why not? This is my eraser. Sometimes people, when you're painting and nothing comes up, check to make sure that you don't actually just have your eraser. Because that happens sometimes. And when that happens, in case you didn't know, you can't, you can't see what you're doing. I'm going to kind of do like a little, a little bit of this here. Just little stretchies. Now I did a layer behind the cape here, so I can just kind of like just do some back and forth here. Um, this is where I painted that stuff. Yeah, it's hard to see sometimes. So when I zoom in and see, oh, I painted that, and I thought that looked good. That's peculiar. So I'm gonna knock some of that crap back. That was a little bit of an issue. And now let's go back here, and I'm gonna go here at my brush and just knock back the edges of this cape because they're just really too clean. And now I'm gonna start painting in the new edges, the new and different edges. I almost said improved, but we all know better, don't we? Come in here and just start. Still too much. A little too much, folks. A little too much. This part of the cape. Yeah. That little part right there is bothering me. So I'm just going I'm going to just paint over that because I can't take it anymore. Just come here in the mask and just paint that part out. Like really, who needs it? Okay. Let's come up here and let's come here and just try and like paint an indication of some Little messy parts here. Maybe I'll make some of these pinkish so that they don't seem too vibrant against the cape. I was kind of, I went and again, like, I went and looked at things like tattered or torn burlappy things, um, either for reference or for like to actually bring them in as part of the photo bashing thing. I don't really know if it's going to work or not, so I'm not sure if I'm going to bring them in or not, but I'm going to try and see what happens. Um, but I think again, by and large, my main goal here was just to kind of um, to make this feel a little less, um, you know, too sterile, too clearly made in ZBrush. So I'm going to go to, I was using the wrong brush. I'm going to go to my little fuzzy brush here and make sure transfer is turned on. That way it's going to get a little bit of darkening in here. I'll go back to my darkening exposure too, and maybe bring some of that back in here too. Just to knock that back. Gus, what's up, man? Good to see you, bud. Good to see you. Coming in here and again trying to like take basically this guy here, and kind of like just start making it feel a little bit more dramatic and stuff like that. So basically, just trying to kind of tatter up my wraps here at this point. Now that I've done that, maybe my exposure layer, I can come in here and maybe bring in a little bit of some brightness here on the wraps so they kind of stand out a little bit. I guess that's a little bit a lot there. Okay, so now I want to kind of play around too with um, some kind of like smoky, tendrily stuff coming up here. Um, so I want to kind of play around with that. I want to play see about. I want to try that tattery stuff here, something like this. This was really just more of a guide, but I thought I had a picture. I think I had a picture. Yeah, that's the one I used, right? So this little guy. So I just want to see if somehow this works. I don't know that it will, but we'll see. Let's bring this down here. Sometimes you just have to try stuff out, guys. You just have to try stuff out. So let's come in here, and I want to get rid of all the white, obviously. I want to get rid of the Shutterstock thing because surprisingly, it's not really part of the plan. So here you go. But I'm going to use blend if. Something I did not realize was in Photoshop for a very long time. Now that I know it, I love it. If I double click on here in my little layer palette, which you can't see because my stupid head's in the way, but I'm just double clicking. I'm going to blend if the current layer gray. I'm just going to kind of like push this in, and basically anything that's not in between these two things in terms of the brightness will go away. Now I can hold down Alt and split this little guy, kind of make it a little more subtle. So now I kind of have basically all the white gone, which is just really useful. And now I'm just going to come over here. Let's see if I can do a color overlay and have it set to that color, then have the blend mode set to overlay, or even multiply. Oh, multiply might actually work pretty well. Is anything else looking better? Multiply kind of keeps the pattern, which of course is the whole point. Um, okay, so let's go with multiply. And then I'll just do a little less. I just want to see if this works. Sorry, Bucky. I just dropped my pen and my cat freaked out. He's easily rattled. So I'm going to come here and let's just come here and, oh, I can't really do that anymore, can I? Okay. I'll just paint it later on. But I just want to see if I can just work this a little bit, and kind of basically steal the little you know, this stuff, little fringes. It might not work, but you never know. In case you're wondering, folks, I can already tell it's not going to work, so we're just going to say goodbye to this. Why not? Why prolong the agony? All right. So let's bring in some smoky stuff. So again, I have this kind of this idea to kind of have the smoke kind of like rising up, you know, by his hand here. So I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and use a brush that kind of makes smoky stuff as best I can. Let's get a brush, and I'm going to go here to brushes. I have a cloud brush which does that. I have other brushes here as well. Um, see here, I have. Yeah, I have dynamic fog and dynamic haze and that kind of a thing. So let's see about dynamic haze here and see what I get with this. Just maybe have a color that's not black. A little too hazy. We want a little more, something more. That feels better. Okay. I don't want it to be red. I want it to be kind of like that bluish green color. But I think it's actually kind of a good brush for this. Yeah. Okay. So let's just see how this works. What I would like to do is I'm just going to use this as a guide here first. I would like for this to kind of be kind of, you know, something like that, right? Where it kind of comes this way, I think. So kind of like this, where it just kind of, works its way up, right? Something like that, and then kind of like wraps around his hand, right? That's kind of the idea here. So I'm going to try to do that. And let's go here to my settings here and transfer. Okay, cool. So let's just see here if I can kind of have it attached kind of to his hand a little bit here. Like this, we just kind of have a little. Again, I can always get rid of some of this. That's what kind of feel for. Oh, jeez, that is not what I expected. It got big really fast. That's interesting. I'm gonna make this a yellowish color now, a yellower version, and then go and layer above this. Will it set the color dodge? I think, and trying to keep this from getting bigger, but it keeps getting bigger, which is weird. Now I'm going to kind of put this in a folder, make a mask, and start kind of removing some of it. I don't want it to be too much on my guy here. Set this to. Okay. This is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this works. I'm gonna do another layer here with this. I might put this to get a little bit more interesting really soon. I feel like, what the heck is going on with this? Oh, color dots make this normal. I feel that this is not very distinct, and um, I want this to be more distinct. So I'm selecting this layer, and I'm hitting delete. And it wasn't letting me do that. So now we're better. All right, so let's try this again. Let's go here to the size. That size jitter. Size jitter is huge, and that's part of the issue, I think. I don't want it to be quite so big. I think what I need is for it to be more horizontal. Um, because it was covering up everything. They just kind of felt like it was, if it's everywhere, then it's kind of, I don't know, it's not really anywhere. It's becoming painfully obvious that I don't really know how smoke works. That's okay. I think what I'm going to need to do to really help with this is to go back to the hand, um, and um, paint on some rim light basically with some green. Um, I think that's kind of important here. But I think, yeah, I think I just need to kind of have this feel like it's more everywhere and not just around his hand. So now I'm going to try a layer on top of this and make this a little bit lighter. Maybe actually make the brush color dodge as opposed to the layer. So it kind of applies the color differently. I'm just trying to kind of hit some of the high points here. Well, linear dodge, is it better? No, color dodge is what I want, but I just need to have this be. So basically, I'm just going to kind of duplicate that layer a little bit, so it kind of gets a little bit double. I might duplicate the other one as well, and just tone down the opacity of that a touch, um, just to kind of get a little bit more. Thank you, fellas. Again, I'm. This is again. I'm not. I kind of like it. I kind of, I kind of feel like I don't have the ability. What the heck just happened there? Somehow I got into a weird thing. Um, to make this the way I want it to look. But again, I think, it'll look like something. I think. Um, I think maybe it'll work once I get a little bit more going on. In the background, I might want to try and use my little webby thing. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try this. I don't know. It's gonna be ridiculous, but I wanna try it. So I'm gonna go to my brush, and I'm gonna go up here to my brush. I'm gonna choose Webby, which is that Webby brush that I made um, right before I started here tonight. And I just wanted to see how this looks. Let's kind of like this, and then blur the crap out of it. Let's see if this works. And then if I do a little bit of a layer above that, that is set to be very dark. I even set this to multiply so it gets extra darky. And then a little more of a webby thing back there as well. I just think there's something generally unsetting about that kind of webby pattern. And again, I think that this stuff coming up to his hands is very indistinct. And I think it could really stand to be more distinct, to be honest. So I'm just going to see about doing that as best I can. There's got to be a way. And I think the way to do it is honestly through not relying on fuzziness, but a little more distinction. I want to go now to the hand before I forget and do a little as best I can to do a little kind of um, rim lighting on the hand because I think part of this looking weird is just because the smoke is um, it's just hitting a hand that's not really reflecting that light. So I'm just going to control click um, this so that I can stay inside these lines here and try to kind of come in here with these. Should probably be on a layer though, right? I'm not on am I on a layer? On a layer. I should probably be on a layer. There we go. I just want there to be some indication that what what all this smoke and stuff is actually being reflected and actually affecting what's around it. So it's going to transfer. Okay, a little bit of this here. And again, I don't want to come back and knock this back here. I just it's abundantly clear that I'm just not a painter. But if you need a cat painted, however, I'm your guy. I paint cats all the time, and it seems to work okay. I can get that little line in there. Again, I'm just slopping this in right now. I just tend to feel better if I just whittle it back after I paint it on because I'm not very good at knowing where to put it, I guess. This is the bunny brush. This is the chalk brush, but it looks like a little bunny. So in case you're wondering, this is what the bunny brush is made for. Well, not really. Again, I'm just throwing on some color here, and then I'm gonna go back and kind of clean it up. And hopefully, and I'm doing this again with the completely unfounded assumption that it'll make sense when all is said and done. Yo, I know. What's up, man? The brother of Lord Voldemort. Just because he has no nose, not everyone has to have a terrible lineage just because they're noseless. And he's got a little nose. Does Voldemort have he has a nose, right? He's just like a it's like a snake's nose, maybe? I think that's how it is. It's kind of a cool design, that Voldemort. Very kind. It's a good call. I don't know that I've seen most or all the movies. I think I've seen maybe one or two of the movies. The Harry Potter movies. Very very not up on um cinema. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Oh yeah. Okay. Again, this is one of those things where I don't know. I don't know if this is how it's supposed to look, but I'm gonna try it. I can't even tell what the fingers are doing right now. Like the fingers were very, very crookedly posed. Um, but all right, so it does help, I think, to have that there, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a feel, like okay, it's actually interacting with um, the smoke here. I think that kind of makes sense. To kind of keep reminding myself too that what I'm like when I'm focusing on these little areas here, um, they're not necessarily going to be like the focus of my attention when I'm looking at the whole thing. It might not be that obvious. Just going to try and give this little robe a little indication of that maybe. Um, Same idea here with this skin little arm. Very weird that he's got like one sleeve missing on his shirt. Um, yeah, I mean it's an interesting look, but we'll come in here and add a little bit of this to the little strappies, the little whatever they are, the wraps. Have maybe some of these little strings that are flying out actually be kind of illuminated by that as well. Then we'll come in with face and try and get a little bit of that in here too. I don't know if it would reach that far, but maybe. I like the idea of the dark part here, the part that's not really being illuminated by the scene light, whatever that is still getting hit by this. So like it really makes it'll pop out more because it's not being hit by the scene light, but it's being hit by this kind of secondary light, which um, kind of just illuminates the dark areas here. This is one of those things too, folks. I mean, to be clear, whenever I do stuff like this, and it's not often, and it probably should be more because it's not something I'm comfortable with yet. But when I do, it's usually something that like you just kind of like whittle away at, like when you're just like not really sure what you want to do. You just like come in here, just start like playing around, just like paint a little bit here and there, and because I think like some of these little details are kind of stuff that you just kind of trial and error to kind of find your way when you like are not necessarily looking for it. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense. But a lot of times when I am painting this kind of stuff, again, I think I do better when I'm like not sure what I want to do with it. I just kind of like play around and it kind of comes up a little bit. The gunslinger from the Mandalorian, he has a name, Gus. It's Cad Bane. Cad Bane. The coolest voice. The coolest voice. I love that guy's voice, man. That's so cool. They did a great job, I think, bringing him into live action because he was always one of my favorites from the Clone Wars. And Ed Bain, they did a good job with that dude. He came out looking really cool. You actually get the teeth a little bit of a glow. I do want to do a little bit with the eyes. Yeah, that one. Yes, learn his name. No, I was kidding. But he was actually really cool. I actually really dug that whole part, whole element. All right, so let's go here. Here's where you know what? Again, I'm determined to make the Webby brush work. I'm just I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up that easily. So it's kind of I don't know why I want the Webby brush to work so much, but I kind of because I made it. I want I want to be worth I want to be worth the time I spent making it, which was approximately 18 seconds. But it's not going to work, by the way. In case you're wondering, Webby is not cut out for this particular job. But I would like to try and kind of get a little bit of color variation in here. The eyes. Am I actually doing anything? Gosh, it just doesn't seem like anything's happening here. Okay. Is it because the brush size is so small? I just okay. It just seemed like it wasn't actually showing up. Okay. Photoshop and I have an interesting relationship. Sometimes we just don't get along. Sometimes it just decides um, not to do what I want it to do. It's weird. See, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe the color for that will be this color here. Yeah, maybe the blend mode for the bright color shouldn't be multiplied. What do you guys think? Jeez, I'm not smart, man. I want this to be over here. That was ill-advised. Just throwing out there, that was ill-advised. Let's go back to multiply and get some. I often don't quite know where I'm going with this stuff until I get there. So it's good to know that, by the way. Um, and sometimes I never get there, but sometimes I do. Hard to say. Thanks, Gus. Yeah, see that was kind of the thing that I was kind of excited about. I I was playing around with the hand um, a lot because I wanted it to kind of like really be in the forefront really, and I kind of like wanted the whole pose essentially to kind of to be based on the hand. I wanted the hand to be the one thing that you saw, um, and uh, that was kind of yeah, that was kind of the goal. I just really liked the idea of that hand reaching and hoping that kind of works out. So it's yeah. So now I want this again. I want I want the background to be a different color than the foreground. One thing I definitely have to do. So let's do a quick little hue set adjustment here because I want the more of a bluish, maybe like a purplish color actually. Yeah. That's all I think. That's better. Okay, cool. Definitely want it to be a little bit better. I did want to fix the smoke because I don't like the smoke. Um, it just feels way too nebulous which makes sense, I suppose, but I want it to be a little less nebulous than this. Let's see if this is going to work or not. I thought I made a layer, but maybe I didn't. Make a layer. Paint a layer. Okay. Let's see if I can actually like paint a darker version of this behind here. Let's go on top here. Just want to see what this looks like here. If I can kind of move this right here. The thing about the smoke is I still want it to feel like it's got, kind of a weight to it. Not a weight, but an actual like physical presence. And I don't want it to be just this big mist, right? So that's my biggest issue sometimes is trying to find a way to kind of give some semblance of solidity to stuff like this where it doesn't feel just kind of dirty or messy. Um, and like I said, you know, different different levels of success sometimes with this, but um, okay. Like I had, yeah. So I mean, I think that we can work with that. So, and then let's go smoke to that. Sometimes I just need to kind of like go through and I have like a bunch of different layers that like are too much. Um, and just taking some of them off helps. I think there's this smoke here. No, okay, so I'm gonna grab these and I'm going to duplicate them really fast and hide the originals. I'm going to merge these together. Um, and then I just want to kind of see, I'm going to make this a smart object. I just want to see if maybe just doing a little bit of a blur will just kind of help. Let's just kind of blur. Just tone it down a little bit, maybe, and then maybe turn down the opacity a little bit. I think maybe that might work. So I'm going to bring this up and then make a mask for it, and then just maybe in certain areas with this brush, I'm just going to kind of like tone that down a little bit, just so it's not quite so everywhere. Like this little part here, I don't like at all, so I'm just going to go right away. I'm still seeing smoke though. Where's the other smoke that I'm missing here? This guy. Okay. A little of that, a little bit of pruning here too. There you go. Okay. Okay. So again, so let's go back to the little highlighty stuff here, and let's do a little more of that. Um, this is when you have to make sure your brush is set to what you want. Okay, so let's go in here and just make this set to normal. Make a new layer for this because I want this to be a little bit brighter. I'm going to go to color dodge and see if that works. I'll come in here. Incidentally, this is where having my Cintiq would help. And I have it, but I was just too lazy to set it up. Um, I just can't be bothered. And to be honest, I don't know how much of a difference it would make, but it does help kind of like keep your eye and your hand working together a little bit better, probably. Um, but you know, so just a little hint there. All right. So let's see what we got. Okay. Again, the smoke is just not. It's just not. This is too much. This I think is too much. So I'm just getting rid of that. This I can live with. I think that makes some sense. I can live with this. So we'll stick with that. This little smoke, which I don't even know where it is anymore. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I have something behind that too. Interesting. There's that. And there's that. And there's what? Oh, there's that. Okay. Let's just see what works best. Okay. So there we go. We're learning. But yeah, I think here a little bit goes a long way with the smoke. I think even down here, some of this could stand to kind of like, kind of be blurred out a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to stick with that for now. Um, and let's see, where is that? Yeah, so this part here just can go away though. That doesn't make any sense color wise. All right. So let's go here and so I just duplicated this group and I just wanted to see if that helps or not. Sometimes duplicating the group makes it a little bit better, but sometimes it doesn't. Who knows? And now with this group here, I'm just going to mask out um, all the stuff on the hand because I don't need to be too much brighter there. Let's see. There's this group here. Let's try something. Again, this is me, by the way, like when I'm not really sure about anything, but I just want to kind of try something a little bit different here. So basically, I'm just trying a gradient map that will tint the color a touch. It's going to give it a little bit more of a blue down there. I don't know that I like that, to be honest. It might be better if it were a different color. Yellow. I just think that I don't know. I'm trying. What I'm hoping for, honestly, is a miracle to find something that I like. Um, I'm just not loving part of this, but that's okay. I think again, it's not terrible. I just think it could be better. All right, so let's try that. And now let's kind of again. I want to kind of make a little bit more going around the outside here. Not a whole lot of craziness, but I do want to try some stuff. And again, I don't know what I want to do yet. But let's just see. So first thing I'm going to try, which I know I'm not going to like, but I still want to do it because I made the damn brush. And I want to try it again. Is web. And I get webby involved. So I'm going to make this brush really, really big. And it looks like it makes a different color here. I think let's just see. Let's just see something here. Let's just knock this up a little bit. It's a big brush, people. It's a big brush. I'll make a mask here. But what I'm looking to do is to kind of just like give the impression that we're seeing him through something. Um, so I think this could actually not be a terrible idea. In its current incarnation, it is most assuredly a terrible idea. But I think let's change this brush because Webby did his job. Now I'm gonna go to a different brush here. Um, just a very little soft round. But um, but if I like this, and then I am going to do a little blur, but not as much as I had done. Let's go here to blur. Gaussian, let's make it not quite so much. just inverted it, which give me a little something. Now I'm gonna start dressing stuff up. I don't even I don't even know what I'm gonna do. That's okay. So all right, so let's just try some adjustment layers here. I'm gonna again this is like usually when I get a little bit goofy, but that's okay. Um I'm gonna try to do another gradient map here. And let's change this back to then flip this. All right, so now I don't know what I'm thinking here, but sometimes I just like to try things. So kind of like try and maybe desaturate a lot of what's going on here, except in the middle. I don't know why. And now I'm going to try my favorite, which is color lookup, and do my other favorite, which is crisp winter, and see what you get. Crisp winter is amazing. It just makes again maybe it's just me, but it makes everything look cool. Um, Look at that. I mean, just it's just before, after, boom. It's such a good one. All right, so I know now that I'm using that. I can tell that I'm using that. I want to maybe not make this quite so desaturated. But by desaturating on the outside, it makes the crisp winter kind of like color correction really kind of focus on the middle, which tends to kind of be what I'm hoping for. And now I'm just going to start. We have 20 minutes to experiment, which is cool. That's the fun part. So I'm going to kind of come in here, and I want to just start. Now I'm going to start overlaying some stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Look at this. So we have this guy here. It's got some what are they called? The watermark things. Um, so you know, let's just get rid of them. Do a quick generative fill and see what we get. Who knows? We might get something that works. I just thought this was a kind of a cool look. I like the fact that there's these little shadows like behind the webs, so it really feels like it's substantive. I thought that was kind of neat. I wanted to use something like this for a noise pattern too, but that looks really nice. So let's just save this. Let's bring this in here. This nice little color dodge. This gives a nice little kind of cool look there. See, even something like this behind everything could kind of be cool. Might reuse this a couple times. And then I'll just tone this part down. This part obviously is a little too much, but it just kind of gives us the impression that he's kind of in kind of like a little webby area, which is nice. Um, Now I'm gonna come back up here. I want to use it again because I thought it was I think that was really cool. There it is again. I'm gonna bring it up here. Let's flip it this time so it doesn't feel like we're using the exact same one. And let's go back to color dodge and just tone it down a little bit. And let's play some more. Now, it's important also to know that whenever I do this stuff, I tend to get a little too overzealous. And this is what you get. So basically, what I've done, I did a copy merge. You can't see because my stupid head's in the way, but I copied all the layers beneath it and just merged it into a single one because I want to do a little blur over just the smoke. So now I'm just going to make a mask and just paint that in a little bit here, just to kind of bring in a little of a blurred smoke area here, so it's not quite so, you know, so obnoxious. And let's bring in some more stuff. Let's just bring in some more stuff. I'm going to go into my textures and go into my Photoshop textures. And let's go here to effects, 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 and overlays. So let's try. I don't think that dust is what I want. I think that let's do embers. Embers, baby. Embers. We want embers. We want embers. We want embers. Not those embers, but embers. We gotta find better embers than that. I think, yeah, something like that. We could try this. Let's try this. Let's copy this. I mentioned before that sometimes I go overboard, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. But that's okay. Let's just go here, throw that in here, scale that down. This is a little big. I don't know if you noticed, but it's a little big. And obviously, we don't want this to be orange. This is I'm going to colorize and bring this into the blue, the greenish area, the greenish blue. And then we'll do our little blur. And then we'll just mask it out where we don't want it. The embers are a little big, I'm not going to lie. So some of these might not be exactly what we're going for here. I've masked out all the embers. So we wanted to try different embers. I want those embers. I do want embers, but I want them to be smaller, and I want them to make sense given the scale, right? So let's find something that's a little bit less. Maybe something like these. They're still pretty big. I'm not going to lie, but maybe we can get away with it. I think this might work better. So let's go to Control U for our little hue and saturation. Let's change this to the color that we want. Some old saturation. Now I'm going to go to a blur. I'm going to go to a motion blur. I want the blur in a direction here, kind of like this, but not nearly so much. Like that. So it's kind of like flying a little bit. You know. Turn it down a little touch. Actually, I'm going to keep this up and then just make a mask and just bring it down a little bit here. Different areas. Just indications. What indications? Again, you can't. I mean, you have to. You have to go all out. You gotta you gotta try some weird stuff, just because if you don't, who will? But I do. Again, I like the idea of kind of embellishing our little smoke with some of these things. Something like this might be kind of cool, just to. Oops, let's bring this on top of everything here because I think part of the issue is that there's a lot of stuff getting in its way. Bring it like this and bring it around. Probably just paint little dots too if I really was, doing it. Let's go here to add. Do a little warps. Let's do a little warpies here. go to, oops, my bad, Control U, colorize these. Let's blur them. So technically speaking, folks, I mean, if I really wanted to, to not be an idiot, maybe I could go to my brushes. I could go to like a dust brush, um, and yeah, put like a dust brush like this. Sample this color. Here, my brush is a little bit big. Make this a little dodgy. Do something like that, where you can just kind of get all kinds of noisy stuff in the middle of this to make your image feel like it's this stuff is happening everywhere. Now I'm going to go to effects and overlays. We're going to find some more stuff because we can't help ourselves. We just can't. I don't think we need smoke, but I do think we could use a lens effect, maybe little film dust textures, maybe, or green, dirty surface. Wow, those are interesting. I'm gonna try this one. Oh, no. This is the kitchen sink part where basically it's like, let's try that. Let's try that. Maybe the right combination exists and we just don't know it. So now I'm gonna set the blend mode here. So, find the right one here. Screen, probably screen, and do a levels adjustment here to kind of knock that down. Something like that. Make a mask. Get rid of the stuff that's too much. Oh, I was using my eraser. This is where I get dumb again. So where is my brush? Oh, am I using a weird brush? A soft round brush. How big is my brush that I can't see it? Oh, it's 35. It's very large. Okay. Sometimes you can't find your brush, and I couldn't find mine because the brush was too big. Sometimes it's because caps lock is on. This time it was just because the brush was too big. That's my dust. That's my embers. I think the embers are too much. There you go. That's much better. So again, this is what is called too much, but I'm actually okay with it though. I just think it's fine. Maybe this is a little bit too much. Turn this down a little bit. Long lost any idea as to what half this stuff is at this point. I kind of like that. I'm gonna come in here maybe and knock some of that back. I think the one last thing I'll do here, maybe, is to try to give a little bit of that same kind of magical stuff um, behind the hand. Just a little bit behind it. I need to adjust this because I have a color adjustment on top of this. The blue I was painting, the green I was painting was actually turning blue. But I just wanted to have a little bit there just so that it didn't feel like it stopped at his hand. And let's find where all that crap is. So it's right there for the most part. So maybe I'll just put that back a little bit here. So his hand stands out a little bit. Maybe not all the way. Again, if I were a better artist, I would kind of have them wrapping the like tendriling around there. But I'm not. And that's okay. All right. So I think here we can probably call it. But I like to do one last little thing just to kind of like, I don't know, it's just, I always try it. I don't always love it. But just to add a little bit of tooth to everything, I like to bring in the paper texture and just see if it kind of like, if it works and kind of like, if it makes things feel a little bit more gritty. Like you can add noise and stuff, right? Um, I always like the idea of paper. I just don't know, I don't know why. I just think it's just I like the idea of old paper, and so I'm just going to try that. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's all good. But I'm going to bring this in over top of everything. Do a quick little overlay or multiply. I think soft light is probably the best way to go. And then I'm going to desaturate it and then make a mask out of it, right? And then just come in and where I want to see it, um, just try and bring some of that in. I don't know. Again, like I said, I don't know why I always like this. I just I tend to try and bring in a little hint of like just roughness, and by bringing that in, sometimes it works. Noise. Again, you can see here, this is probably not the best. In this case, it's not really working. That's okay. But what was the one? I've long since forgotten. That's okay. I'm just going to give the eyes a little bit of a glow, as best I can. So I'm just going to set the blend mode here to linear dodge. Just tap a couple times. All right, just going to get a little bit of that one there. Yeah, a little bit of eye glow there. That's something. Okay, and now I want to find out where all that stuff is. All that the actual stuff is my guy. It's right there. Okay. So one last thing, and this might not work at all. Um, I want to add a lot of darkness to this, and then bring some of that in. So I just want to kind of see how that looks before and after. Right. Just to kind of give everything a little bit of everything. So again, this was meant really just to kind of experiment um, with trying to give this guy a little bit of a personality, a little bit more of a atmospheric feel. Um, and again, I don't really know whether the magic stuff was a success. Kind of even lost where half that stuff is. If I'm being honest. It was here, but there's some more stuff down here as well, I guess. Um, but yeah, this was meant to be just an experiment in terms of finding ways to try and make try and make a sculpt have a little bit more you know pizzazz to it. And again, it's not always going to be a perfect result, and this definitely is not. And I'm not going to pretend that it is. But I liked the idea of just um, trying to bring a little more atmosphere, a little bit more mood, to the character, and just see what you can come up with, right? So the one thing I think that you can do at the very end here, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to Control Shift Alt E to grab this whole thing because I do have. I don't know if it's going to work now. It might be a little late, but I do have the depth pass, and I wonder if I can get a little bit of depth of field with this. It's probably not going to work now that I have all this other crap going on. But again, let's give it a shot because that's one of the things that, like in like this pose, theoretically anyway, would have worked nicely for that because the hand is coming very, very close to you, and um, it kind of like it would work nicely uh, for a depth pass. So again, it's not really exact because it's missing stuff. Like it's not exactly what it is, but again, you never know. So let's just do this. So I'm gonna go here to my paths, to my channels, and again, you can see channels, but I'm gonna come down to the bottom, which you can't see because my big fat head in the way, and I'm going to paste that depth pass in there, right? Now, if I come here to the top, this merged version of this, I can go up to filter, blur, lens blur, and then basically have it use as its source that alpha channel. And I can just tap on the face, right? So it knows to make that the sharp part, and then everything else will be blurred a little bit based on your blur radius, right? So blur radius up to 5, it's going to be a little bit of a blur. If I crank it up a little bit, it's going to be a lot more blurry, as you can see, around here. So you have that kind of that ability to kind of adjust that based on your depth pass. I wanted to have a little bit, so this is blur rate about 8. What's the difference, right? And then hit OK. So you can see here if I turn this before, right, like just a little bit of sharpness in the fingers and stuff like that. And after, just get a little bit of blur. It kind of focuses more on the face. So, and the one more thing I'll do is go up here to filter, lens correction. And by the way, you can go to lens to the raw filter, which you can do a million things on. It's awesome. I forgot. But I can come here to custom and go to vignette and give myself a little darkening around the edges if I want to. Um, yeah, you get a little vignette. So anyway, folks, again, this was experimental. It's trial and error. It's a lot of things that I would probably have done differently and better if I knew how. Um, so, again, I apologize in advance well, not in advance, I apologize in retrospect if it was not necessarily 100% successful or helpful, but hopefully, again, this gives you some ideas about what you can play around with and encourage you to kind of like, get out of sometimes the render engines and kind of, just see what you can do on your own. Sometimes you make it worse, sometimes you don't. But anyway, this is an image that has a little bit more stuff in it that's visually interesting and at least kind of puts them in some sort of environment, right? So again, thanks, Orlando. I appreciate it, buddy, so much for stopping by, folks. Hopefully this was interesting for you guys. It was a lot of fun for me. I enjoyed doing this kind of stuff just because I feel like I'm trying to learn something that, if I get a hang of it, can open up a lot of fun experimental pathways. So, again, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Hope it was worth your while. I think I think this Sunday should be Ian's Digital Forge, right? I'm going to double check, but also, yeah, keep an eye on Discord to make sure. But I'm pretty sure Ian is doing Digital Forge this Sunday. If so, I know I'll be there. So hopefully you will be too, and we'll hang out then. Thanks again for hanging out, guys. See you guys.